Can a mini ITX motherboard overclock a 7700K in the dead heat of an Aussie summer at 5.1 GHz? Let's find out. Welcome back to Tech Yes City. This is Brian coming to you guys today with a look at ASRock's small form factor solution for the Z270 lineup. This is the Z270 Gaming ITX Fatality motherboard, and as we all know, that gamer tag tends to get thrown around a lot. It is almost in every product, though. Does this motherboard really have all the necessities that a gamer would want? Well, in my opinion, yes. The VRM features Texas Instruments NextFET MOSFETs, which are rated at 40 amps at 125 degrees. The chokes feature ASRock's premium 60 amp solution, and the capacitors are 12K solid-state Japanese made, which makes up an 8-phase power delivery, with 6 phases being dedicated for the CPU power delivery itself. Though, although not boasting as many phases as some other boards out there, it is still performing really well, especially when stressing my 7700K at 5.1 GHz, which was the max performance I could get out of this CPU, even when testing it with full-sized ATX boards that I have here that are much more expensive. Though, with that said, the VRM heatsink was only hovering in the warm to touch region of just over 40 degrees Celsius, and furthermore, all this was done in the sweltering heat of an Aussie summer, which on this particular day was over 30 degrees. So sporting the ability to overclock any Kaby Lake CPU to its max potential on air and water is a really solid feat for a board this small. Though the goodness doesn't end here. There is an Nvme M.2 PCIe port on the back of the board, which provided native support and also allowed for speeds well in excess of what you could expect on SATA 3. There is also a USB 3 front out, one USB 2 front out, HD audio out, 6 SATA 3 ports and 1 SATA Express connector, and 3 4-pin fan headers and 1 additional 3-pin fan header for a total of 4 fan headers, with one of those being able to provide 18 watts of dedicated power to a water pump. As for memory, there are only 2 DIMM slots which have support for up to 4000 MHz overclocks. I managed to have no problems whatsoever locking in XMP profiles at 3 GHz with my 5.1 GHz overclock on the CPU, and also managed to hit a custom profile of dropping down the timings to 1T at 2600 MHz. Though I will point out there was an odd compatibility issue I had with some Kingston memory, and more particularly the 7700K. The CPU would work fine with some Corsair memory initially installed, and after a BIOS update, the Kingston memory would then work with my G4560 Pentium, though still wouldn't work with the 7700K. After the BIOS update, the Corsair memory, however, worked fine on both BIOS reiterations, though since this compatibility issue did occur on a retail BIOS, it is something to be mindful of. Looking at the rear of the board, there is a dual band PCIe wireless, with the signal strength being very strong with the included receiver plugged in. I had no problems achieving really fast download speeds that were only a little bit behind my fixed connection. Just above that, there is a clear CMOS button, which is so easy for resetting bad overclocks at any time, and below that there are 6 USB 3 connections, a Thunderbolt connector, display port and HDMI outs, an optical audio in supporting 7.1 surround sound, a PS2 port and 5.1 analog surround sound support, plus a separate mic and line in, and lastly an RJ45 connection supported by an Intel i219V NIC. The audio itself is a very strong point of this board, with having support for Creative Sound Blaster Cinema 3 software, and also featuring the Realtek ALC1220 codec. A dedicated Texas Instruments headphone amplifier and also Nichicon capacitors gave this board very low crosstalk, and also when testing for bass rollover or bass roll off, there was almost none, which was great to see, especially all the way as low as 20 Hz, which our ears can't really hear bass below those frequencies anyhow, besides getting that boom boom bass going on. Though it wasn't just the audio out that was strong on this motherboard, the mic in port was also very impressive, sporting some very low noise figures, but I'll let you guys have a listen for yourselves. So here's what a V-Motor Boom Pro microphone will sound like plugged directly into the mic in port on the ASRock Fatality Z270 Mini ITX motherboard, with a volume level of 60 and a microphone boost of 10 dB. So there it is, guys. When people ask for features and function over cosmetics, ASRock clearly listened. This is quite simply the best mini ITX board I've reviewed, hands down. ASRock have gone to the true heart of the formula that I consider the ASRock formula, and that is to cover all bases from what I would want from a board personally. That is a solid VRM, amazing onboard audio, and a solid onboard NIC. There is even a really good included dual band wireless to boot, with a receiver that works really well. The board is also very sturdy, featuring a nice thick glass fabricated PCB, though the only downside to a mini ITX chipset is that it only has 2 slots for DDR4 memory. Though besides that, if you want to make an extremely solid mobile gaming machine, then this is the motherboard that passes all the tests with flying colors, and at 168 US, it is a little pricey, though it does have all the bells and whistles one would want from a mini ITX motherboard. Even has that steel armor plating on the PCIe connection, which did do a pretty good job. I just left the motherboard sitting on the card itself. No support, and it was doing fine. Though it doesn't have any RGB lighting, though you can add that in yourselves if you want to. Also, if you're in Australia, I don't know when or if this product will be hitting the shelves down here. And if you like this review, then be sure to hit that like button and let me know in the comments section below what would you want out of a mini ITX motherboard. For me personally, this thing hits all the boxes, though do you want RGB lighting on it? I mean, if you want that, just drop it in there and do your thing and get it jiggy with it. And I'll catch you guys in another tech video very soon. Peace out for now. Bye.